The first sign came without warning. A signal, sharp and deliberate, cut through the static of Nova Frontier's long-range sensors. It wasn't from any known star system, no recognizable frequency, no conventional coding. Just a pattern, a pulse that didn't obey physics the way the universe had ever dictated. Commander Lyra Voss stared at the holographic display, her face half lit by the cascading light of fractured data streams. "It's alive," she whispered. "Not alive in the biological sense. Alive in the way that something impossible could choose to exist. Something aware. Something waiting." The crew held their breath. Protocol dictated caution. Ignore anomalous signals until verification. But none of them could tear their eyes away. Every simulation, every predictive model, collapsed as they tried to understand it. The pulse wasn't just information. It was a question aimed directly at humanity itself. "Why are you still here?" the signal seemed to ask, though no words existed. The corridors of the starship echoed with a tension that felt older than the galaxy. If this was a test, then humanity had already failed countless times. But the curiosity, that reckless spark that had carried them from one collapsing colony to the next, refused to die. Lyra reached out to the central console. A trembling hand hovered over the activation panel. She knew what came next would either open the doorway to salvation or trigger annihilation across timelines humanity had never touched. "Prepare for full-spectrum decoding," she said. The words carried more weight than anyone admitted. Each crew member knew the stakes, but none could voice the fear. They were on the edge of a future that hadn't been written yet, standing on the thin line between destiny and chaos. As the ship's AI flickered to life, translating impossible mathematics into visual maps of energy and time, the crew saw it. A fractured path across the stars, where entire civilizations blinked out, rewound, or simply failed to exist. And through it all, the pulse remained, observing, measuring, judging. And then Lyra's voice cut through the rising panic. "We have to respond. Humanity doesn't get second chances here. If you're excited to see what happens next, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Nova Frontiers will take you to the edge of the universe and beyond." This is just the beginning. The signal was waiting. Humanity was listening. And the question hung over them like a star about to go supernova. Who decides what survives the future? The ship's sensors struggled to keep up. The pulse was no longer just a signal. It had shape, pattern, a rhythm that suggested intent. Every flicker, every spike in the energy readings hinted at a mind that could see beyond human comprehension, a civilization that existed outside conventional time. Lyra and her crew pored over the decoded frames. Stars bent, timelines folded, and entire planetary systems shimmered like holographic projections that were simultaneously real and unreal. "It's communicating in probability," whispered Ensign Mara, the ship's lead mathematician. "It's not sending data. It's predicting responses before we even make them." The realization hit the crew like a pulse through their veins. This wasn't a message. It was a probe of existence itself. Humanity had always assumed the universe followed rules. Physics, causality, entropy, they were constants, immutable and reliable. But now, standing before this temporal anomaly, none of that mattered. The future itself was asking questions, and it expected answers. Lyra's mind raced. Are we supposed to respond? Or are we just observed? Her words lingered in the quiet hum of the ship, drowned only by the low-frequency vibration of the decoded pulse. Then the AI spoke. Not in words, but in a visual overlay across the bridge. A map of the galaxy appeared, fractured into countless timelines, each one diverging, collapsing, or rewinding. And in the center, a glowing node pulsed in perfect sync with the signal: humanity. The future hadn't just noticed us, it had singled us out. The crew felt it before they understood it. A pressure in the air, a tension in reality itself, as if the universe paused, waiting for humanity to act. One wrong move, and every timeline humanity had touched, Every civilization born from human curiosity could vanish in an instant. Lyra gritted her teeth. Then we act. If the future wants a response, we'll give it one it can't predict. Inside Mara's voice trembled. But what if it doesn't want us to survive? Lyra's eyes hardened. Then we make it impossible for it to erase us. The first step was reckless. The crew initiated the pulse interface, allowing their decisions to ripple across fractured space-time. Instantly, energy cascades shot through the ship. The bridge lights flickered. The walls of reality themselves seemed to stretch, shimmer, and pulse in response to their actions. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't merely surviving. Humanity was shaping the future, and the universe noticed. The moment the interface activated, the bridge erupted in a chorus of alarms. Not the mechanical kind. The ship itself seemed to scream. The holographic maps twisted violently, timelines splintering like shattered glass across the display. Each choice the crew made rippled outward, and the pulse reacted instantly, almost with anticipation. Lyra felt it in her chest. A pull, a tug on her perception of space and time. Objects shifted slightly, walls bent, and the stars outside the viewport flickered between impossibility and reality. It's destabilizing, Mara whispered, voice barely audible over the hum of energy. Our actions are rewriting what is. Alien observers, long assumed to be outside the human sphere, might have witnessed the beginning of the collapse. The Continuum, the unseen, unfathomable entity behind the pulse, was supposed to maintain coherence across all timelines. It never expected humanity to react unpredictably, and now it was struggling to keep pace. On the bridge, the crew made rapid adjustments, each one a gamble. Every decision created branches of reality, each equally real, each equally possible. A planet that had existed for millennia flickered out of existence in one projection, while another bloomed in a distant timeline. Entire civilizations blinked on and off as if life itself was a program being rewritten by hands too small to control it. Lyra's gaze settled on the central hologram, the glowing node that represented humanity. It was no longer a single point. It was a sprawling web, hundreds of threads diverging in every direction, each one alive, unpredictable. She realized with a mix of awe and terror. Humanity had become an unsolvable equation, a variable even the universe couldn't compute. This isn't survival, she said, voice tight with adrenaline. This is evolution. The AI, sensing the fracturing, projected warnings in every language it knew, all futile. The bridge itself seemed to vibrate in response to the branching timelines. Every panel flickered, the air shimmered with energy. Humanity's defiance was not just physical, it was conceptual, bending the rules that had governed existence for eons. Lyra clenched her fists. We don't follow the rules. We break them, and the universe will have to adapt. The pulse, for the first time, hesitated, and that pause, that fraction of uncertainty, was the opening humanity needed. The pulse no longer felt like a signal. It was an observer, a judge, and suddenly, a victim of its own surprise. Across the bridge, the crew watched as the holographic projections warped. Threads of causality twisted into impossible loops, collapsing then reforming in new, unpredictable patterns. The Continuum, the entity that had governed the future for eons, was faltering. Lyra stepped closer to the console, her reflection shimmering across the glass panels. They didn't expect this, she murmured. They didn't expect humans to choose unpredictability. Behind her, the holographic map of the galaxy quivered violently. Stars blinked in and out of existence. Entire planetary systems spiraled along timelines that no observer could trace. The Continuum's influence had always relied on order, on predictable paths. Humanity had shattered that assumption in a single, daring act. Ensign Mara's fingers danced over the interface, stabilizing a few projections here and there. It's like the universe is recalculating itself. Every choice we make creates hundreds more possibilities. They can't track it. The alien observers, shapes too abstract to truly define, appeared on the holographic overlays. They were the fragments of the continuum trying to restore coherence. But each attempt only highlighted humanity's defiance. The more they tried to corral reality, the more chaotic and alive it became. Lyra raised her hand, activating a new layer of the interface. A cascade of energy arcs illuminated the room as the pulse reacted violently, sending shockwaves through the starship. The walls shimmered, the floor flickered with light, and every panel reflected the growing instability of the cosmos. "This isn't just survival," Lyra said, voice steady despite the chaos. "We're rewriting existence itself, and nothing, no system, no law, no machine can stop us." For the first time in recorded history, humanity had become a force not merely living within the universe, but altering the rules of reality itself. And the Continuum, the supposedly omnipotent architect of the future, was powerless to enforce its will. The bridge hummed with energy, and the fractured timelines shimmered across every holographic panel. Humanity was no longer a passive player in the universe's design. It was a wild card, an active force rewriting causality itself. Each crew member on the bridge felt it. The weight of possibility, the thrill of defiance, and the undeniable fear that one misstep could erase them from existence entirely. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We don't wait for the future to decide our fate," she said. "We claim it." With a swift motion, she activated the timeline cascade interface. Streams of light flowed outward from the ship like threads of raw reality, fracturing conventional paths into hundreds of branching possibilities. The holographic map now resembled a shattered galaxy, each fragment pulsing with energy and life. Every star, every planet, every civilization humanity touched flickered across these threads, alive, dead, reborn, or never born at all. Ensign Mara leaned closer to the display. "We're creating echoes. Entire civilizations can exist or vanish based on what we decide. This is power beyond comprehension." The pulse reacted immediately, thrumming like a heartbeat across the ship's systems. It was as if the Continuum were trying to fight back, to collapse the chaotic branches into a single predictable outcome. But humanity was unpredictable, messy, brilliant. Each crew member acted in perfect dissonance, making it impossible to calculate the consequences. In the viewport, alien constructs, the remnants of the Continuum, flickered in and out of existence, confused and powerless. Their authority over the cosmos was crumbling before human ingenuity and instinct. One by one, they hesitated, trying to anticipate humanity's next move, but each hesitation only amplified the chaos. Lyra clenched her fists over the interface. "We're not just surviving anymore. We're reshaping the universe, and nothing they built can contain us." The first real shockwave of fractured reality erupted around the ship, rippling through nearby star systems. Planets blinked, nebulae twisted, and timelines danced in impossible synchrony. Humanity had struck back, not with weapons or armies, but with the most dangerous force in the cosmos, unpredictable will. And the Continuum was watching, stunned, powerless, and for the first time, unsure. The ship's hull vibrated with the energy of fractured timelines, a subtle but constant reminder that reality itself had become unstable. Lyra stood at the center of the bridge, her silhouette framed by the glowing threads of possibility spilling from the holographic interface. Every pulse, every ripple of energy seemed to respond directly to her choices. Humanity was no longer a participant. It was a conductor orchestrating the fate of countless worlds. Outside the viewport, alien constructs appeared, fragments of the Continuum, incorporeal and vast, stretching across the void like shadowed monuments of order. Their forms shimmered, constantly recalculating to predict humanity's actions yet they faltered. Each movement of Lyra's hand, each command from the bridge, shattered their projections. For the first time, the supposedly omnipotent architects of the future were uncertain. Lyra, Mara said, pointing at the interface, they're trying to collapse our threads, but every attempt only creates new ones. They can't control this. Lyra's lips pressed into a thin line. Good. Then let's give them something they'll never forget. With a decisive motion, she activated a cascade of temporal feedback, a deliberate entanglement of multiple timelines that sent glowing arcs spiraling across the holographic galaxy. Each arc represented a choice humanity had made, branching infinitely, bending the universe itself in ways the Continuum couldn't anticipate. The alien constructs surged forward, shimmering with predatory intent, trying to reassert order. Energy pulses collided with the ship's shields, lighting up the corridors in bursts of neon blue and violet. Sparks reflected off every metallic surface, and the crew could feel the vibration of reality fighting back, testing their limits. But Lyra moved with calm precision, her body and mind aligned with the chaos she had unleashed. "This is it," she said, voice steady. "Either the universe adapts, or it collapses under the weight of human unpredictability." One of the Continuum fragments materialized closer to the ship, a massive, distorted figure of shadow and light, attempting to impose singularity upon timelines. Lyra raised her energy gauntlet, letting it pulse with all the power harvested from fractured causality. In that instant, humanity and the future collided, a dazzling spectacle of chaos and willpower, sending shockwaves across the bridge and beyond. The confrontation had begun, not with bullets, not with diplomacy, but with the very essence of choice itself. Humanity had become a force the universe had never calculated, and now every possibility teetered on the edge of collapse. The energy from the temporal cascade spread through the fractured timelines like fire racing across dry plains. Lyra's hand hovered over the interface, directing strands of possibility toward the most critical nodes. Every action was deliberate, every choice a hammer blow against the Continuum's control. For the first time, the alien constructs flinched, their shadows flickering with hesitation. Mara's voice trembled with awe. "It's working. They're retreating. The threads, they're bending to us." Lyra's eyes scanned the glowing web of timelines. Entire civilizations blinked back into existence. Worlds that had been predicted to fail flourished, their stars igniting in bursts of life. Humanity's influence spread outward, not through brute force, but through sheer unpredictable will. The Continuum, for all its power, could not anticipate the chaos they had created. A faint vibration ran through the ship as the alien observers tried to consolidate their forms, attempting to reassert dominance. Yet each effort only fed more divergence, more unpredictability. Humanity wasn't just surviving, they were rewriting the rules. Lyra clenched her fists over the console. "This is only the beginning. Every step we take from here fractures reality further. They can't keep up. They won't keep up. Outside the viewport, shards of light and energy twisted in impossible arcs. Some alien fragments vanished entirely, erased by the divergence they could not calculate. Others froze mid-motion, locked in a loop of indecision, powerless to act. Humanity's defiance was spreading like a virus through the fabric of a universe. The crew began coordinating more audacious maneuvers. One officer initiated a sequence that looped a collapsing planet back into stability, a calculated gamble that rippled outward, shattering another thread of Continuum control. Each success, each unexpected outcome, built momentum. Humanity's unpredictable nature was no longer a threat. It was a weapon. Lyra looked at the crew. "Remember this. This is the moment we became more than survivors. This is the moment we became a force the universe cannot ignore." And as the fractured timelines pulsed with renewed energy, the Continuum realized, with growing dread, that humanity could no longer be constrained. The bridge of the Nova Frontiers thrummed with tension. Holographic displays shimmered with fractured timelines, each one a battlefield of possibilities. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were fighting the universe itself. Every decision, every pulse of energy rippled outward like shockwaves through reality. Outside the viewport, fragments of the continuum surged, shimmering, amorphous, and incomprehensible. They moved as if they were one entity, but each fragment lagged behind, trying to anticipate humanity's unpredictable maneuvers. And with every miscalculation, timelines bent further, exploding into new possibilities. Lyra's hand flew across the interface. A planet that had been on the verge of collapse stabilized with a pulse of energy. Another star system, previously extinguished in the Continuum's simulations, flared back to life, its light cascading through space like a cosmic fanfare. "We're forcing reality to adapt," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Every move they make, we turn into an opportunity." The ship rocked as a temporal backlash hit. Time itself seemed elastic, stretching and snapping as events occurred out of order. A crew member briefly aged, then reversed. A star blinked into existence only to vanish. And yet all of it was synchronized in a pattern that humanity could exploit. They were rewriting causality. Every branch, every outcome, a testament to human ingenuity. Mara leaned closer to the display, eyes wide. "They're trying to collapse our threads, but every attempt fractures even further. They can't calculate us." Lyra's gaze hardened. "Good, then we escalate." She activated a second sequence, intentionally destabilizing multiple timelines simultaneously. Energy cascaded in brilliant arcs, sending alien fragments spinning into temporary non-existence. Sparks of light danced across the corridors as the ship's systems strained to contain the feedback. It was chaos on a scale no civilization had ever experienced, and humanity thrived in it. The Continuum's perfect order could not survive the reckless brilliance of a species that refused to be predicted. The battle had begun, not with armies or weapons, but with the very essence of reality itself. Humanity's defiance was now a storm the universe could neither anticipate nor control. The bridge had fallen silent, but the air vibrated with raw energy. The fractured timelines stretched in every direction, glowing like threads of molten light. Humanity had done the impossible. They had turned chaos into their weapon. But Lyra knew the next move would decide everything. One misstep, and all those timelines could collapse, erasing not just their existence, but the very echo of human ambition. She stared at the holographic map, each branching path shimmering with infinite possibilities. "This is it," she murmured. "Everything comes down to this moment. The alien fragments, the continuum itself, were reassembling, desperate to reassert dominance." They loomed larger now, their forms stretching across multiple timelines at once, an attempt to compress humanity into predictability. But Lyra had anticipated them. Every maneuver so far had been a setup, a way to force the continuum into a single point of vulnerability. "Prepare the temporal resonance sequence," she ordered. Her hand moved with precision over the controls, initiating a cascade that would link humanity's divergent timelines into a coherent strike against the continuum's fracturing forms. Energy arcs converged toward the alien constructs like lightning drawn to the tallest spire. The pulse of human will was about to collide with the universe's ultimate judge. Mara's voice trembled with excitement and fear. "Are we really doing this?" Lyra's eyes hardened. "We have no choice. Humanity either controls its destiny or ceases to exist." As the resonance sequence charged, the ship shook. The floor shimmered beneath them. Walls flickered, and the air itself seemed alive. Outside the viewport, fragments of the continuum twisted and pulsed, unable to anticipate the human gambit. Every plan they had laid for eons was being dismantled in real time. Then, Lyra extended her hand toward the hologram. and with a single command, the full force of human unpredictability surged forward. Every timeline, every choice humanity had made, converged into a strike so chaotic, so brilliantly unpredictable, that even the continuum faltered. For a moment, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Humanity had gambled everything, and for the first time, the future was theirs to shape. The moment the temporal strike completed, the silence was deafening. The holographic threads of timelines quivered, stretched, and then snapped into new patterns. Humanity's gambit had worked, but the universe itself was reacting. Space shimmered, stars pulsed, and entire systems blinked in and out of existence. The continuum, once confident and unyielding, had fractured, its fragments scattered across the web of timelines, unable to recover. Lyra stood at the bridge's center, breathing steadily, though adrenaline ran hot through her veins. "They're adapting," Mara said quietly. "They're recalculating, but slower. They can't keep up." Outside the viewport, alien constructs twisted, faltered, and began to dissolve in mid-motion, as though the sheer unpredictability of humanity was erasing their authority. The bright corridors of the ship reflected this cosmic chaos, panels flickering in response to energies too massive to fully comprehend. Lyra's eyes scanned the interface. Each fractured timeline now bore the mark of human decision. Some civilizations survived that should have fallen. Some stars ignited that should have remained dark. Humanity was no longer a passenger in the universe. It was an unstoppable force shaping existence itself. But with this victory came a sobering realization. This power was dangerous. The more they reshaped reality, the more unstable it became. One wrong calculation could unravel entire sectors, collapse planets, or erase their own timeline. Mara turned to Lyra. "We did it, but can we control it?" Lyra shook her head, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Control isn't the point. Survival isn't the point. Humanity exists to defy expectations. We adapt. We improvise. And right now, we're alive because we refuse to be predicted." The pulse, the fragmented signal from the beginning, flickered across the hologram one last time. For a moment, it seemed almost sentient, observing humanity with something akin to wonder, or perhaps frustration. And then it dissipated, leaving only the glowing threads of possibility that humans had carved into the universe. The bridge was silent, except for the hum of energy flowing through the systems. Humanity had not just survived. They had redefined the rules of existence itself. For the first time, the continuum hesitated. Its fragments, once precise and unyielding, now wavered in every timeline they tried to assert control over. Lyra watched the holographic map as alien nodes flickered, some vanishing entirely, others looping endlessly as they tried, and failed, to predict humanity's next moves. The pulse from the beginning, the message that had demanded humanity conform or vanish, was gone. In its place was a void, a gap in the continuum's reach. Humanity had carved a space the future itself could not touch. Ensign Mara tapped the interface nervously. They're not responding in real time anymore. It's like they're recalculating, but they don't know where to start. Lyra's gaze hardened. Then we define the starting point. This isn't just defiance anymore. It's leadership. Humanity decides its own fate, timeline by timeline, choice by choice. The ship hummed with power as the crew stabilized their newly created threads. Planets that had been moments from annihilation now shimmered with life. Entire star systems pulsed with energy as if they were breathing in relief. Humanity's defiance had reshaped the very architecture of reality, forcing the continuum to observe, adapt, and ultimately acknowledge that they could no longer dominate. "Do you realize what this means?" Mara asked, voice almost trembling. "They've never been challenged like this. Not once." Lyra's expression softened slightly, though determination still burned in her eyes. "They will adapt. They'll try again, but we've shown them something they can't predict. a species that refuses to be confined by rules, timelines, or inevitabilities. For the first time, the crew allowed themselves a moment of quiet triumph. Yet even in victory, there was a recognition of the enormity of what had been accomplished. Humanity was no longer a passive survivor. Humanity was a force that reshaped the universe itself, a variable no system could calculate. Outside the ship, the stars sparkled as though acknowledging this monumental shift. For now, humanity had won a measure of freedom, a victory that would echo across the galaxy for untold eons. The ship drifted through the calm aftermath of temporal chaos. The fractured timelines had settled, glowing softly like a web of possibility stretching across the galaxy. Lyra stood at the center of the bridge, gazing at the holographic display where humanity's paths now spread outward, bold, untamed, and unpredictable. The Continuum had retreated. Its fragments no longer pursued or controlled. They observed. They had learned, in the hardest way possible, that humanity could not be confined, could not be calculated, and could not be erased. The universe itself had shifted in response, and humanity had carved a place for itself where no rule, no law, no prediction could hold it back. Mara leaned against the console, eyes wide, still absorbing the enormity of their actions. We actually did it. We changed everything. Lyra allowed herself a small, rare smile. We didn't just survive. We evolved. The Continuum expects order, predictability, but humans? We're chaos. We're choice. And now, the universe will always remember that. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the ship's systems, steady and calm after the storm. Outside, the stars twinkled with new patterns, timelines no longer converging or collapsing, but branching endlessly, each one a testament to humanity's audacity. Lyra looked at her crew. This is the beginning, not of the war, not of survival, but of exploration, of creation. We're the frontiers. And the universe? Well, it's finally starting to notice us. For the first time, humanity was more than just a species. They were a force beyond prediction, a spark of life capable of reshaping existence itself. The pulse of the universe beat in rhythm with their own choices, and Lyra knew one thing for certain. Whatever the future held, humanity would face it on its own terms. And with that, the Nova Frontiers sailed onward into infinite possibilities, ready to claim the stars, not as survivors, but as the architects of a new reality.